Would anyone like to come up for a story this morning? I see Ava's on her way. And Simone and Catherine. Hi, Ava. Good to see you this morning. Hi, Catherine. Simone. How are you doing? Are you okay? Not tired? Oh, good. Good. Well, I have another brand new story to tell you this morning. And we've been telling stories out of the book in the Bible called Mark. And Mark's book is all about the life of Jesus. And so we had his baptism a couple of weeks ago, and I know, Catherine, at least you were here, and we saw all the figures get dunked in the water. And then last week we saw a couple of stories where Jesus helped people by healing them, making them feel better. And now we move on to a story today about rules. About rules that have to be followed. Well, sort of, except this is in Mark's story too. But yeah, the rules, you're right, Catherine, the rules all started in the Hebrew Bible, the Old Testament, and there were lots of them there. So that's what this story's about. So it takes place, this story happens in the time when Jesus was teaching people about God. And so that's the land we're in. But today, we begin in the temple. The temple, or the synagogue, was what the people then called what we say is church. So it was like this place here, but it was called the synagogue, or the temple. And there were priests in the temple, just like we have a minister. That's what I do here, is I'm the minister in this temple. And they were the ones that helped people to understand the rules that they needed to live by. And they had 613 rules. Can you imagine trying to remember all of those rules? 613 of them. About how to live and what to eat and who you could talk to and how you had to pray and all of those things. 613 rules. It's a lot, isn't it? That's only a few of them, because I didn't write 613 of them out. Well, one of the rules was that you were not allowed to do anything that looked like work on the Sabbath. And the Sabbath is like our Sunday, so the day that people would go to church. It is Sunday today, yeah. Well, the Sabbath was actually Saturdays, and they still have Sabbath on Saturday, but they weren't allowed to do any work, and you could get in really big trouble if you did anything that looked like work on the Sabbath. So when we meet Jesus in this story today, it's the Sabbath, and he was out with some of his followers, and they had been busy all week talking with people, teaching them about love, teaching them about God. And they got to the Sabbath, and they were really hungry. They were hungry. In fact, they were almost starving because they hadn't had very much to eat. And they got to this cornfield. there was a great big cornfield, and it was full of ripe ears of corn. And so Jesus said to his friends, "Go and pick some of that corn, and we'll have something to eat," because they were really hungry. And one of the friends, sorry about that. I need to fix that again. One of the friends turned to Jesus and said, "We can't pick corn. That's work, and it's the Sabbath. We're not allowed to pick corn on the Sabbath. That's what the church teaches us." And Jesus said, "Why would God be angry at you if you were hungry and just needed something to eat?" That didn't make any sense. And so they picked some corn.
You should have put some corn, little corn pieces.
I decided to put cobs of corn in there. So they picked the corn, and the priest, the Pharisee, as he was called, saw them do it. He saw them do it, and he said, "Stop that. You are breaking God's rules. God will be really angry. You can't do that on the Sabbath." And Jesus turned to the Pharisee and said, "That's a silly rule. That's a silly rule. God would not want us to go hungry." Well, the Pharisee got really mad and stormed off into the temple. So they ate, and then they went to the temple for the service there. So Jesus arrives, and his followers go with him. They're now nice and full, so they're feeling pretty good. And when they get there, there's a man in the temple, and he's got a really sore hand. Can you see his hand? It's bandaged. And he's in a lot of pain. He can hardly stand it. And so Jesus saw the man and went towards him because he wanted to help him. And the Pharisee said, "You can't do that. That's work. You can't help him." And Jesus said, "You would say helping him is breaking the rules too? That God wouldn't want me to help this man be healed?" And the Pharisee kind of looked around at all the people and went silent. He didn't know what to say. And so Jesus touched the man's hand, and it was healed.
His hand doesn't want to stay up.
I wonder how it would feel to be really, really hungry and know it would be against the law or against the rules to make something to eat. I wonder how that would feel.
Really awful.
Really awful?
Then you couldn't eat, and then you would be starving.
Yeah.
You would starve.
You'd end up starving, yeah.
God would not be very happy.
I wonder how it would feel to see someone who is hurt and know it would be breaking the law or breaking the rules to help them.
I would be really
Sad?
sad. And I would feel awful for them because you can't really do anything because you'll get sent to jail for doing it.
Yeah, you could end up being sent to jail. You're right, that's the kind of thing that happened. I wonder why Jesus decided to break the rules.
Because he knew that, well, it's just a silly plain old rule.
It's just a silly rule.
Who cares? It's just a rule.
Who cares? It's just a rule. I wonder how we know when a rule or a law is a good one or a bad one. I wonder how we know.
A good one
Well, that's our story. And we're going to sing a song about, it's called Coloring Outside the Lines. And it's what Jesus did by breaking the rules. He was coloring outside the lines. And I think you're going to hear a bit more about rules in children's church. So you can sing some of this with us and then head off there. My love colors outside the lines.